Okay, Shalom, Yeshua, Shalom. Giving all praises, honor, and glory to our power, Yahweh. Bahashem Yehoshua, Bahashem Rachak Kudash, double honors to the apostles, the bishops, and the elders of Great Millstone. Peace and blessings to the hopeful elect of the tabernacles of David scattered throughout the four corners of the earth, wherever you may be. Wherever you may be, to you I say Shalom, Yeshua, Shalom. Right. Wait. Back, phone. Okay, all right, so, this will be super brief. All right. Let me get it up here on the screen though. You still taking? Yeah. Okay. So me and my questions, right? So well, this is probably history that most of us already know. And I punched in. I worded it a certain way, but I wasn't uh okay with the way I worded it. And then you know how it is when you go back and you punch the same thing in over. It doesn't. It's never the same. And so they left out something here. But here it is. Here's my question. Give me all the information you can find on the Israelite slaves being thrown into gladiator games with wild animals. All right. So I'm gonna point out what was not here. All right. I mean, obviously because it's not here, but we'll read this first. So gladiatorial games were a significant aspect of Roman culture, and the Colosseum, inaugurated in 80 AD, became the iconic venue for these spectacles. The games included various events such as animal hunts, uh, venationes, executions, and gladiatorial combats. And if some of you who've probably seen Gladiator 2, remember the first movie Gladiator 2, it showed you them doing some of those gladiator games, like with the sea battles, reenacting those. Those were like real games, all right? So it wasn't just like, movie screen time to make it look dope, all right? Those were things that they were truly reenacting, all right? And people really reenact those things like that, all right? And people will really die, okay? But the slaves are the ones who are set to die, right? But anyways, it says the question asks about Israelite slaves. Oh, in the opening, when he was fighting against the what the heck was it? Was it a hyena? I think it was a hyena. But let's just keep going for now because we can get into that. It says the question asks about Israelite slaves being thrown into gladiator games with wild animals. Construction of the Colosseum and Jewish slaves. The Colosseum was built largely by Jewish slaves, overseen by Roman engineers and craftsmen. So they built the place and where a lot of them that were later to come will be put to death. Maybe even some of the same ones that helped build the place. All right. But anyways, these slaves were captured during the First Jewish-Roman War, which concluded in 70 AD. There was a time period, a window of about 66, if I'm correct, it was about to 73 AD. All right. There was a window, but we most widely hear about 70 AD. All right. It says, with the destruction of the Second Temple in Jerusalem, it is estimated that between 60,000 and 100,000 Jewish slaves were employed in the Colosseum's construction. The Colosseum was founded by the spoils of the Jewish war. Okay, when you have Titus, all right, the archer Titus, and all those things that he took out, and of course they took treasures and things, that because we were we were loaded, all right, because they kept a treasury. We had golden vessels and things of the nature, silver and all these different things, but we also had a treasury of where it was just, dough, okay? And I don't mean American dollar bills, all right? Gold and silver and things of that nature, okay? So who was it? Was that in the book of Isaiah? I had to go back and read it again because my memory doesn't jog right now. But where one of the Israelite men who were in charge as a king showed all their treasure and everything that they had to one of the heathens, okay? And they got rebuked by one of the prophets. But let's keep going. I was just making that point to make the point of how we as I say, we were loaded, right? As they would say in the world, it was more as like a whiteboard term, right? Oh, they're loaded, man. All right. They had war bucks. Events at the Colosseum. The Colosseum hosted various spectacles, including animal hunts, executions, and gladiatorial combats. Executions often involved criminals being exposed to wild animals. Damnatio ad bestias. As a matter of fact, let me save that. Jewish captives. In the games, while the primary source did not explicitly state that the Israelites were specifically thrown into gladiator games with wild animals, it is known that Jewish captives were used in the games. Titus, after his victory in the Jewish war, forced many captured Jews to fight wild animals in gruesome gladiatorial battles to entertain his troops. The Colosseum was built with the spoils of the Jewish war, and the games were a way to celebrate the Roman victory over Judea. Now, as I mentioned before, there's something that they're leaving out here. Because before, when I punched this in the first time, they actually gave me a list of animals, and I thought it very interesting. One of those animals that were listed. We'll get to in a second though. Executions and the damnatio ad bestias. Executions were a common feature of the Roman games, and the damnatio ad bestias was a method of execution where criminals were exposed to wild animals. Given the context, about to get rained out here. It's okay. Given the context of the Jewish war and the use of Jewish captives, it is highly probable that some Jewish prisoners met their end in this manner. Therefore, based on the available historical information, it is highly probable that Jewish captives, including those from the First Jewish-Roman War, were forced to participate in gladiatorial games, including being thrown to wild animals as part of the spectacle at the Colosseum. Now, the thing that they took out from the first time I researched this, okay, is that they actually listed beasts, okay, and one of the beasts that they listed was alligators. Wow, yeah, and you should know already why I'm mentioning that. All right, alligators, because you have the what? The alligator Alcatraz, alligators and snakes. Okay, and this is part of this current presidential regime here, which really is not even that. All right, because they're not in power. The president is a puppet, but you get the point. Okay, what's going on right now with Trump and ICE and the Israelites? Okay, because this is attack on the Israelites. They already gave us the bestius. Let me paste it anyways and see if something else come up. Oh, let me get my button out the way. Damnatio ad bestias, and the water Yabashim shop for the rain because we kind of needed it. Damnatio ad bestias, meaning condemnation to beast, was a brutal form of capital punishment in ancient Rome where condemned individuals were killed by wild animals, typically in public arenas for the entertainment of the masses. This practice, which emerged around the 2nd century BC, was part of a broader category of blood sports known as bestiary development in Rome. Um, the exact origins of damnatio ad bestias are not entirely clear. Some historians suggest it may have initially been a religious sacrifice rather than a legal punishment, particularly in regions where lions and other large predators were revered. For example, Egyptian mythology included lion-like deities and demons that devoured the souls of the wicked. Similar practices are noted in accounts of Alexander the Great's campaigns in Carthage, where prisoners were thrown to beasts. Okay, which we were also under Alexander's captivity, but he didn't deal harshly with us because of the vision and stuff, right? That history there. Let me try to stand up under this thing here. Let me grab my bag. That way, I can just roll out. I'm probably not gonna sit on my seat. Getting hot, hitting a high gear. Okay, so types of damnatio ad bestias. In Rome, damnatio ad bestias evolved from a military punishment possibly borrowed from the Carthaginians to a public spectacle. Initially, it was used for non-Roman military allies found guilty of desertion or defection. The condemned were often tied to columns or thrown to the animals defenseless. Okay, over time, it became a common form of entertainment for the lower classes, the plebeians. All right. Oh, also another thing it left out because it mentioned somewhere in there, it mentioned Nero, all right, them being burned, which we know the so-called Roman candles, right? Oil poured over Israelites, okay, and been set afire, all right, and used, during, certain ceremonial times. It also mentions some of them being crucified. And of course, it mentions some of them being thrown to wild animals, which that's where it listed all those animals, including alligators, all right? So it left that big portion out there, all right? As a matter of fact, animals used. Here we go. Look, check this out. Animals used. Historians distinguish between the two main types of damnatio ad bestias. Abicere bestias, to throw to beast, where the condemned were defenseless, and damnatio ad bestias, where the condemned were expected and prepared to fight. Were expected and prepared to fight. There were also um, professional beast fighters, or bestiari, trained in specialized schools. These hey, they showed you that, right? And when was it the same movie? No, I might be thinking about. Well, I guess the second movie too, but the first Gladiator, where the man, the old guy, would be pretty much overseeing them. He pretty much was training them, right? So this is what you do. This is what you not do. Hey, when don't look the emperor in the eye. Don't do this. Don't make any. All this stuff, kind of stuff. Training them for what they should do out there and training them for the battlefield, preparing them, right? There were also professional beast fighters or bestiary trained in specialized schools. These schools taught not only fighting techniques but also how to handle and tame animals. Here it is: execution of Christians. Right? These are talking about Israelites, right? It says a wide variety of animals were used in these executions, including lions, tigers, leopards, bears, wolves, and crocodiles. Right? Alligator, and I know there's a difference between alligator and crocodiles, but I mean, there's still a very, very similar species. Okay. It says lions were particularly popular and were imported to Rome specifically for this purpose, and you'll see that back into the Gladiator movie. They had tiger in there, right? If I'm correct, they might have used I don't know if it's a lion or not, but I do remember the tiger when he fought my man in the mask. All right, there was a tiger that came out. Okay, um, it says lions were particularly popular and were imported to Rome specifically for this purpose. The demand for exotic animals led to the development of special hunters who captured and transported these creatures from distant lands. Other crimes and penalties. The practice of damnatio ad bestias was also used against Christians starting in the 1st century AD. Christians were often accused of high treason, right? Same like us. We're not quite accused of it, but what we do when we go out and prophesy on the streets is what they would consider as treason. Okay, unlawful assembly. All right, same thing. They're going to try to get us off the streets. Okay, and refusing to honor Roman gods. There you go. All right, all those things. All right, you can apply them to the ministry today directly. Okay. It says the persecution of Christians were reflected in the writing of Tertullian, who noted that the public often blamed Christians for misfortunes and cried, "Away with them to the lions." There is no evidence for Christians being executed at the Colosseum of Rome. All right, man, save your breath, man. Decline in abolition. Besides, well, I'll read it, it's the end of it. Besides Christians, damnatio ad bestias was used to punish a variety of criminals, including deserters, poisoners, counterfeiters, political criminals, and those who committed crimes against the family. The condemned were often deprived of their civil rights, and their property was confiscated. Yet it was because of Nero, that devil, right, who blamed the fire, all right, on us, okay, and allowed them to come down with a persecution on us, okay, rally the people up behind that, all right. And now you have a Nero reborn, okay? You got a new Augustus, okay, in office. The practice of damnatio ad bestias gradually declined with the fall of the Roman Empire. It was banned in Rome AD 681. However, it was used once after that in the Byzantine Empire in 1022, when several disgraced generals were arrested for plotting a conspiracy against Emperor Basil II, which I've heard his name before. They were imprisoned and their property seized, but the royal eunuch who assisted them was thrown to lions. All right, so yeah, hey, but it's okay, man. All right, because all these things are gonna come back on Esau, man. As a matter of fact, let's leave with a couple scriptures at least. One just came to mind. We'll get that. Revelation, or another one come to mind. Let's get that one too. Revelation 18:5. All right. For all nations have drunk of the wine of the wrath of her fornication, and the kings of the earth have committed fornication with her. And the merchants of the earth are waxed rich through the abundance of their delicacies. And I heard a voice from heaven saying, "Come out of her, my people, that ye be not partakers of her sins, and that ye receive not of her plagues." That's the actual taking up of the remnant from Babylon into the chariot. It says, "For her sins have reached unto heaven, and the Most High hath remembered her iniquities. Reward her even as she rewarded you, and double unto her double according to her works. In the cup which she hath filled, fill to her double. How much she hath glorified herself and lived deliciously. So much torment and sorrow give her. For she said in her heart, I sit a queen and am no widow, and shall see no sorrow." Okay, that's what you see in your mind, but the Lord's going to bring you down. Let's get this. Psalms 137:7. Remember, O Yahweh, Bahashem Yahushua, the children of Edom, in the day of Jerusalem, who said, raise it, even to the foundation thereof. O daughter of Babylon, who art to be destroyed, happy shall he be that rewarded thee, as thou hast served us. You see, give unto her double. Happy shall he be that taketh and dasheth thy little ones against the stones. We get one more, all right? Meditate. Here it is right there. All right. Isaiah 33 and 18. Thine heart shall meditate terror. Where is the scribe? Where is the receiver? Where is he that counted the towers? We don't really need all that. I just want that point. Thine heart shall meditate terror, because it will be given unto them double. As a matter of fact, let me get one. Give me one more for you before you go. That Eddie Griffin. Yeah, one more for you before you go. It's old stand-ups funny as hell. Talk about these like these Catholic churches, when you go in there, it says they be singing, it sounds like Lucifer could pop up. Oh, That's an old stand up. Hey, old Eddie Griffin. He was very young back then. Let me get this. Isaiah 47 and 15 right here on the money. All right. Matter of fact, let's get 14. Fear not, thou worm Jacob, and ye men of Israel. I will help thee, saith the Lord Yahweh Bashem Yahushai, and thy Redeemer, the Holy One of Israel, the remnant of our people, right? Behold, I will make thee a new sharp threshing instrument, man, with spiritual powers, man, having teeth, right? Your power, right? Thou shalt thresh the mountains, these nations, and beat them small, and shall make the hills as chaff. Thou shalt fan them, and the wind shall carry them away, and the whirlwind shall scatter them, and thou shalt rejoice in the Lord Yahweh, by Hashem Yahushua, and shall glory in the Holy One of Israel. All right, so that's it. That's all I want to, get into. Read that there that I saw interesting yesterday. All right, and I had saved it, so I'm gonna leave it at that. Lord, will you edify? Shalom.